let's look at the progress we got. Bumper's back on the truck. Recommend, if possible, if you're ever doing this, leave the bumper on the truck. Don't ever take it off. Variables change. In my case, not much. I did have to adjust this about 1/4 inch on one side to get it level. So obviously this is in comparison to the truck. So if your truck is not level, then your bumper is not going to be level. So best I can tell, the truck is reasonably level considering. So the bumper then should be considerably level. Based on the light gap on both sides, it's pretty darn close. Right to left, pretty darn close. So at this juncture, I've decided to bolt this bumper to the original bumper brackets, which you can see underneath right there, so that as I continue to modify this, it will be easier for me to weld. So I plan to have a piece of plate come down, tie in there, and then also I want to wrap the corners because at the moment they're pretty much useless, so I'll wrap those with some plate, probably to the fender liner. So, all right, additional progress. Have the lights kind of fitted in, give you guys an overall look, and myself a look of how I'm doing. So I have some 1.5 inch angle going as a gusset from the original factory toe point up to the bumper mount on both sides. Right now it's all just clamped in. So yeah, if you look at it here, it looks like it's sticking down quite a bit. But if you actually look, it's still quite a bit higher than the factory A-arms and the lower skid plate, which goes over the oil pan. So although initially it does look like it sticks way down, it really doesn't. All right, once again, we got a new day, another new update. Got the braces that go down to the frame, and then I added a couple pieces so that I can get a couple solid bolts through to the frame. And I have this skid plate fit up in place, and then I have a couple of these wedges that were actually part of the bumper initially. They got cut, that fit in here pretty darn good. And then obviously I've got this little chunk here that I'll have to cut off. And I did come across this. I've had this for a while. It's been sitting out back. It's a little dirty. But this is some pretty cool perforated metal, I'd suppose it'd be called. It was part of a fixture somewhere. And I think that'll look pretty cool, give tons of airflow. I would say it's sturdier than expanded metal, for sure. It's obviously got more surface area. So hopefully it doesn't just get destroyed. We will see how that looks. All right, after quite a while of welding, I've got this in. I don't have it cleaned up to show you guys what you can do with inexpensive stuff. So this is what I used. 125 amp flux core Forney. I think they run about 150 bucks on Amazon, and definitely gets the job done. This is about maxed on capacity. Reason why I chose to do this specific process is I had a little bit of a gap to fill across the very top of this, and I'm getting ready to flip it over and run it through with my Everlast 140 amp stick welder. This does mad work. That's actually what I used to burn those in. I'm gonna try to do a time lapse, see if it comes through, of me running these same seams on the other side. But first, I believe I'll show you guys how simple it is to clean this up with a wire wheel on a angle grinder, and I'll give you guys a look of the weld quality. And there we have it, just about done. I just used this little guy, simple. This one's actually about worn. It's usually probably about that big, just knotted wire wheel. And now we have the welds cleaned up, at least the slag off of them. Now if you notice, some of these beads are fairly high compared to the metal, which is what I wanted to kind of cover some of the gaps, some of the pits. And of course I do have, if you look there, where see if I can see it, where I stopped and started a bead, have a little bit of cleaning up to do. What I'm gonna do now, and then here you can also see the height of it, and that's just because this does not have a ton of amperage to really burn through this 1/8 inch. But I'll put this on time lapse. I'm gonna run the stick welder and show you guys the difference, not only of the size, but of the penetration that you can get with proper amperage. All right, just a quick look between my MIG welder and my stick welder. You can see here the slag is much different. Few BBs, not nearly as many as the flex core, and the welds are flat and much higher temp. Let me see if I can flip this over and show you the other side. And there, as you can see, the full heat penetration is much different than the MIG welder, just because of the capacity that I have. So let's get this slag ground off real quick, and I'll show you guys what a final weld looks like. All right, so I got the slag blasted off. I'll show you guys a couple welds here. Those turned out okay. You can see where I started and stopped. I believe I might have changed directions. Beads look like they're rolling different. I am not a professional welder. I'm not teaching anyone how to weld, nor am I saying you should do one thing over another. I'm just showing you what I've done and the results that I got in my particular case. So let's keep going and look at finishing the bottom of the skid plate. All right, you guys are probably tired of me starting and stopping all these talking sessions, but just about there. Got this piece cut out, looking pretty cool. And then this end piece here, of course I'm gonna cut it down, but that'll kind of finish it off. I'm not real sure how I like this look. Obviously I'll trim off the extra there, but let's get this on. Let's get it all ground down, and let's get it back on the truck for a final once over. All right, jumped ahead a little bit, have the bumper done. It's painted up with self-etching primer, a black base coat, and then some rubberized undercoating. I also managed to clean up as much of the rust off of this as I could, and then I just blasted it with some Rust-Oleum primer just to kind of cover it up and make it look a little bit better once you get the bumper on, because there will be a little bit of a gap you'll be able to see. So let's see if I can get this bumper on. Let's see if I can get it mounted up, and we'll go from there. All right, close to a finale. Bumper is on, fully mounted, painted up, looks good. The holes I cut for the 2-inch or 3-inch square floodlights came in handy for putting in the bolts. So you can see there's 2 there. Maybe see them better here. 2 1/2-inch grade 8 bolts. And then on the other side here, there's one that mounts to the factory tow hook, which is mounted directly to the frame. Now these bolts, maybe you can see them up there, go to a bracket that then mounts back here, which is hard to see. So hopefully the bracket itself isn't weak and doesn't rip off the frame, therefore ripping the bumper off. Over the next couple weeks, I'm gonna be running wiring. I'm gonna be running a sub fuse panel to get everything wired up properly, and I'll finally have some nice floodlights in the very front. So more to come. I think this is gonna wrap up the video. Thanks for watching.